You know, it's a different feel. It's Friday, and you're watching a worship service. You're sitting in a sanctuary, but it's not normal. It's not going to be like what normally happens when you tune into a worship service, when you come expecting to hear about celebration, to hear God's grace and His mercy. It's different. This Friday, we remember because it is different. Tonight, we remember and we reflect. May you be open to how God moves in and through you during this time.
gain I count but loss, and pour contempt on all my pride. Forbid it, Lord, that I should boast, save in the death of Christ my God. All the vain things that charm me most, I sacrifice them to his blood. See from his hand, his hands, his feet, sorrow and love mingled down. Did e'er such love and sorrow meet, nor thorns compose so rich a Were the whole realm of nature mine, that were a present far too small, love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my all, demands my soul, my life, my
Good Friday has always been a time that we focus on the cross. Most likely every one of you here today and watching is always focused on the empty cross. But in reality, tonight we come to look at two crosses. We've got two crosses. Which would you choose? Would you choose an empty cross, or would you choose the cross with Jesus on it? Would that be the cross that you would choose? Most of us choose the empty cross because that's what we prefer. That's what we're used to. That's what we grew up with. We like it because, we can make it a charm on our bracelet. We can wear it around our neck so people will see it. And truthfully, it's easy to draw. But a cross with Jesus nailed to it, that's what that other church does. That's the cross that the church down the road, the one with Jesus on it, that's their cross. That's not mine. That kind of cross wouldn't look good around my neck, right? That wouldn't, and it's almost impossible to doodle that cross with somebody on it. Come on. And I sure wouldn't want one of those crosses in color to where I would see the red blood from his hands, from his feet, and from his side. But we can't have the empty cross without that cross that Jesus was on. We actually need both. Neither one of them is right, neither one of them is wrong. We need both. Because they both carry a meaning that we don't need to miss. When we talk of a cross, it is a place of suffering. It is a place of shame. One cross just actually visibly shows that. And we know that the cross is a means of execution. We've often heard it said that you never see anyone with a necklace that has an electric chair chained to it. We've never seen anyone put the gallows on the charm of their bracelet. You know, if you look for pictures of electric chairs, all you're going to find are empty ones. Why? Because we don't want to see people in the middle of suffering and dying. Now, we don't mind it when a person's 98 years old. They're tired and they're worn out, and they tell you, I just want to go to sleep and wake up and see Jesus. When that happens, we say it's beautiful. But when something else happens, we don't want to go there. We don't want to be around any part of that. But remember this about the two crosses. We can't have hope for life without the pain of dying. We can't have the crown of life without the crown of thorns. We can't experience resurrection without the crucifixion. So we come tonight not to focus just on a symbol, but on the one who gave all on the cross. We also come to remember why he gave all.
Love came down, laid down his crown. Love came down, laid down his crown for me. Love came down, laid down his crown of majesty. Love came down, his life to give for me.
When did Jesus realize his purpose and his final destination? We knew from early in childhood, he knew the Old Testament. He knew the law, and he knew the prophecies. He knew all the stories. And I'm wondering, when he was hearing in the synagogue the person teaching and reminding them of Father Abraham taking Isaac up the mountain, and Isaac asking Abraham, where's the sacrifice? And when Abraham tells him, God will provide the lamb, did Jesus know that that was a glimpse into his future? And every year when the whole nation celebrated one of the high holy days, and they spend hours celebrating that special night and talking about how Moses led the people out of Egypt and recounted all 9 plagues, and they get to the 10th plague, and all of Israel's sons were saved as long as a Passover lamb had been killed. And I wonder, did he know then? When he was praying and he was reciting Psalm 22, and he got to that part where the psalmist says, my God, why have you forsaken me? I wonder what crossed his mind. My hunch is he memorized Isaiah 53. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering. He was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. By his wounds we are healed. And as he recounted that, I wonder if he had a visual image of what was going to happen to him. But we do know this for sure. When he was with his disciples, he knew beyond a shadow of a doubt his purpose and his destination. He told them in Matthew 17, the Son of Man is about to be betrayed into the hands of men, and they will kill him. And again in chapter 13, they will condemn him to death and deliver him to the Gentiles to mock and to scourge and to crucify. He knew what we couldn't understand. Those closest to him, those who knew him best, they were clueless. And he'd already told them, I have come that they may have life. But what was the price of that life? Jesus knew it. And when he talked to his Father right before his arrest, he knew it then as well. At about the 9th hour, Jesus cried out again with a loud voice and yielded up his spirit. Then the veil of the temple was torn in two from top to the bottom. So often we skip over that little bit of information because our focus normally at this service and Jesus' last hours alive on this earth are on those last sayings from the cross, those 7 phrases. And when we so focus on those because we know that those had to be said with a purpose. Those had to have some meaning behind them when he was going to use his last ounces of strength and breath. He needed to get out something that was important. It was. And we love honing in on that because when we look at what was transpiring that day, that in the midst of pain and dying, he was thinking of those right there with him. Those in front of him, when he said, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing. And then the guy right next to him, who was suffering as much as he was, who knew he was hours, minutes away from dying, Jesus thought of him and said, hey man, when you wake up, you'll be in heaven. And then at his feet, he was being the good son. And he's taking care of his mother. Made sure that when he was gone, that she would be okay. But what about that veil? The veil of the temple. It actually symbolizes the same thing. Because he was thinking of you and me. That veil symbolized him thinking of you and me. For centuries, the high priest, once a year, went behind that veil to make a sacrifice. No one else could see. No one else went in. Just him, behind that curtain. Hebrews 9:7 says, but only the high priest entered the inner room, and that only once a year, and never without blood, which he offered for himself and for the sins the people had committed in ignorance. Now, truthfully, we all can make the case that most of the sins we commit are not done in ignorance. We know. We know. We know what we're doing. But when Christ died, the veil was torn in two. No longer do we have to wait for that one time of year to go to God to receive forgiveness. No longer do we have to wait a whole year to feel like we can have a fresh start. No longer do we have to wait an entire year to sleep in peace. Because now we have access to his mercy anytime. When difficult times hit, when we are burdened with guilt, when we know we have just blown it, just as Christ prayed in the garden, we can now hide ourselves in the protection of God. Because we can know we are forgiven. We can know we have been delivered. And we can experience that anytime, anywhere. And most importantly, we don't have to wait. We can do it now.
crosses, one laden,
one empty,
two crosses that speak to us of tragedy,
and triumph,
of death,
and of life,
of redemption,
and of resurrection.
two crosses that tell one story. My cross shows a Savior's love, a love which took him even to death for me and for all people.
My cross shows the Savior's power over sin and death and assures me of victory available to all people.
Two crosses that tell one story. The crucified Jesus calls me to take up my cross daily and follow him.
The risen Lord calls me to live a new kind of life, risen with him.
We must nail to the cross all our sinful ways.
We must look to new and creative purposes
We must die to sin.
and rise again to righteousness.
Every day we die a little.
And every day we grow a little.
Death and resurrection are the essence of everything. Unless a wheat grain falls to the ground and dies, it remains a single grain.
But if it dies, it yields a rich harvest.
Two crosses that tell one story. The night is darkest before the morn.
When the pain is sorest, the child is born. I am the resurrection and I am life.
Anyone who wants to save his life will lose it. But anyone who loses his life for my sake
And for the sake of the gospel,
will save it. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd is one who lays down his life for his sheep.
And I am the resurrection and I am life. If a man has faith in me, even though he dies, he shall come to life.
Lord, your people are in pain and dying.
Lord, life must go on. It's your gift to us.
Two crosses that tell one story. Crucified Lord, help us to enter into your sufferings, offering our sin and pain to you.
Risen Lord, give us grace to live in trust and hope as newborn children.
Lord, redeem our world by the power of your risen life,
And draw us together in unity.
so that we can show you to your faith to your people everywhere. Let us
Let's proclaim
proclaim the mystery of faith. Christ has died.
Christ is risen.
Christ will come again.
Every way of
Behold, your God. He gave everything he had. Let us remember and be in awe, not just for this one night, but for each day. As we live in the shadow of the cross and in the shadow of his forgiveness. As you leave tonight, please silently exit. As you leave, make your way to the car and eventually to your house. Take those few moments to think. To think about the difference the crosses have made in your life. Or maybe the difference they could make. Go in peace.